Heartthrobs, teen moms, and buck-naked survivors. These reality stars messed with the law and lost. Whose cheery smile covered sinister secrets? Hands where we can see 'em. Here's who bluffed and got cuffed. Making its Netflix debut in January 2020, Cheer chronicled the exploits of the cheer squad of Texas-based Navarro College. Among the standout members of the squad was Jerry Harris. His can-do attitude and inspiring backstory made him so beloved by viewers that the GoFundMe that was launched on his behalf prior to the series premiere exceeded its $50,000 goal. It raised over $60,000. But in September of that year, he was arrested on charges of child pornography.
One of the show's breakout stars is facing a 15-year sentence.
The arrest followed an FBI investigation into claims from twin brothers that Harris allegedly offered them money to produce sexually explicit videos and photos of themselves, which one of them eventually sent to Harris when he was just 13 years old.
He's asked me for nudes, I think maybe 2 or 3 times, and every single time I just shut him down and just said no.
Harris entered a guilty plea and was sentenced to 12 years behind bars. At his sentencing, he expressed his regret and added, "I am deeply sorry for all the trauma my abuse has caused you. I pray deep down that your suffering comes to an end." With its debut in 2000, Survivor changed the game for reality TV, and at the forefront of the first season's many colorful personalities was Richard Hatch. He also became the show's first winner, taking home the $1 million prize.
Let's be real. Let's get right to the heart of it.
That same year, Hatch was arrested over accusations of physically abusing his son, then 9 years old. He was later cleared of those charges. Then, in 2001, Hatch was arrested on charges of assault stemming from a physical altercation with an ex-boyfriend. He was convicted, but the conviction was overturned. But when Hatch failed to pay tax on his Survivor winnings, he was indicted and charged with federal tax evasion, bank fraud, and other related crimes. He was found guilty and was sentenced to 51 months in the slammer. He was released in 2009. He was then arrested later that year, hours after making an appearance on NBC's Today, because he reportedly didn't get clearance to do the interview from the Federal Bureau of Prison. The mix-up led the ACLU to call for his release. Later that year, he was ordered back to prison for 9 more months because he was supposed to refile his 2000 and 2001 taxes and pay the outstanding amount, but hadn't. He was finally released in 2011. Who knew that a Las Vegas pawn shop would become the setting for one of TV's most enduring reality shows? With the Pawn Stars premiere in 2009, employee Austin Russell, known by his nickname Chumlee, catapulted to instant stardom. But things took a dark turn in 2016 when Russell was arrested on gun and drug charges. This came about when cops showed up on Russell's doorstep to perform a search of his home on a warrant involving an entirely different matter. Vegas Metro PD stated, a search warrant was served at the residence of Austin Lee Russell regarding a sexual assault investigation. During the course of the search warrant service, several illegal items, including methamphetamine, marijuana, and firearms, were located. Russell entered a plea deal, avoiding jail time by agreeing to plead guilty in exchange for 3 years of probation. He was not charged with sexual assault, as Russell told a local Vegas news outlet.
You know, we always have to live with the choices we make, and even more so, we have to learn from the choices we make, you know?
Of all the stars who skyrocketed to fame via MTV's reality hit, Jersey Shore, from 2009 to 2012, Mike Sorrentino is the most flamboyant. Nicknaming himself The Situation, Sorrentino became a fan favorite for his wacky antics, quirky turns of phrase, and obsession with showing off his abs.
As far as I know, everybody loves The Situation. And if you don't love The Situation, I want to make you love The Situation.
In 2014, Sorrentino was arrested after getting into a brawl with his brother at the New Jersey tanning salon they co-owned. The fight was reportedly sparked when their employees called the cops after their paychecks bounced. He avoided jail by taking anger management classes and paying a fine. Just a few months later, Sorrentino and his brother were indicted on charges of tax fraud after they neglected to pay tax on nearly $9 million of income. The brothers were hit with additional charges in 2017. Sorrentino pled guilty and was sentenced to 8 months in prison. He was released in 2019 and returned to reality TV in the spin-off series Jersey Shore Family Vacation. For Sorrentino, spending all those months behind bars proved to be a life-changing wake-up call. As he recalled with Us Weekly,
I chose to be accountable. I chose to, hold my head high and handle this whole situation from start to finish with grace and class.
Josh Duggar is the oldest of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar's kids, as seen on the TLC reality hit 19 Kids and Counting. But in 2015, a police report was unsealed, revealing that Jim Bob and Michelle attempted to cover up allegations that Josh had molested several young girls, including some of his sisters. The scandal led TLC to pull 19 Kids from the schedule and then cancel it completely. The family spinoff, Counting On, featured several Duggar sisters. In 2021, U.S. Marshals arrested Josh. A day later, he was formally charged with both receiving and possessing possessing child pornography. It wasn't long after that TLC severed ties with the Duggars entirely, canceling Counting On. Duggar pled not guilty, but was convicted on both charges. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison, less than the 20 that prosecutors were seeking. Duggar's sentence was then extended by 2 months after he was reportedly discovered to be in possession of a contraband cell phone. Fans of the first season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians will recall that Khloé Kardashian was pulled over and arrested on suspicion of DUI, and the whole thing was filmed by the show's cameras. She claimed at the time,
"I really wasn't that drunk. It wasn't a high percentage."
But TMZ reported that her blood alcohol level was 0.13, well above the legal limit of 0.08. She was sentenced to 36 months of probation, in addition to completing an alcohol education program and community service. When she blew off both those requirements, she was then sentenced to serve 30 days in jail. Despite that 30-day sentence, Kardashian didn't spend much time in jail. When she showed up to begin serving her sentence, she was released because the jail was overcrowded. Ultimately, she spent just 3 hours behind bars. During a 2008 appearance on Tyra Banks' talk show, Kardashian admitted, "What I could have done is just unthinkable. I will never ever do that again." Adam Jasinski won season 9 of Big Brother, taking home the $500,000 prize in 2008. After his win, Jasinski hatched a clever and illegal scheme to turn that money into more money by buying 2,000 oxycodone pills that he planned to resell at a hefty profit. But before that could happen, he was arrested in 2009 when he sold pills to an undercover DEA agent. At the time, Jasinski faced 20 years behind bars, in addition to fines that could exceed $1 million. He pleaded guilty to the drug charges, along with an additional charge of failing to file a tax return for the year in which he'd won Big Brother. Jasinski was sentenced to 4 years in prison, a far cry from the 20 he could have received.
Listen, sometimes you need to understand that life happens.
After his release, Jasinski put his hard partying past behind him and embraced sobriety with the help of counseling. He went on to serve as a mentor and counselor at a drug and mental health treatment facility launched by his mother. And he also wrote a book, My Kids on Drugs, Now What? Geoffrey Paschel was introduced to fans of 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 days, back in February 2020, with cameras following him and his Russian fiancée, Varia. But Paschel had already amassed a lengthy criminal record before being tapped for the show. He was arrested in June 2019 for allegedly violently assaulting his then-girlfriend. Before TLC cameras were ever rolling, Paschel appeared in court to face charges, which revealed similar allegations dating back to 2018. In 2021, Paschel was convicted on several charges, including aggravated assault and kidnapping. While he claimed that the victim's injuries were self-inflicted, her claims of his violence were consistent with her injuries, which included large bruises and cuts in addition to a concussion. With consideration of his prior convictions, Paschel was sent to prison for 18 years with no possibility of parole. Maurice Fayne was known as Arkansas Mo to fans of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and he appeared as Carly Red's boyfriend during the 2019 season.
That's why I love him. He's so, just different.
Different how?
There's no hidden agendas.
But in May 2020, Fayne was arrested on federal fraud charges. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Fayne applied for a PPP loan during the pandemic. He received more than $3 million for his trucking business, based on claims he had 107 employees and a monthly payroll of nearly $1.5 million. But authorities claimed the money wasn't spent on business-related expenses. Instead, Fayne allegedly used $40,000 to pay child support and spent another $85,000 on a diamond bracelet and a Rolex presidential watch, plus $136,000 on a Rolls-Royce lease. The investigation revealed that not only had Fayne fraudulently obtained the PPP loan, but he was also using the money to prop up a massive Ponzi scheme he'd been running, enticing investors to pump money into his trucking business, which he would then use to fund his extravagant lifestyle. Fayne entered a guilty plea and was sentenced to 17 and a half years in prison. Appearing on the 12th season of The Bachelorette, bad Chad Johnson tried his best to woo JoJo Fletcher. But in 2020, Johnson was arrested in Los Angeles after his girlfriend, Annalise Mishler, called 911. While the two were in the midst of a heated argument, Mishler reportedly claimed that Johnson was drunk and violent, alleging that he physically assaulted her and punched a hole in a wall in her home. He was booked on charges of felony domestic battery and robbery after reportedly taking Mishler's cell. Johnson later admitted that he had been blackout drunk and didn't remember anything. Noting that the pair had recently broken up, Johnson explained to Extra,
To start the day off, we broke up. And I just decided to drink, and I'm not very good at it.
He was subsequently hit with 6 felony charges. He ultimately managed to avoid any jail time when he entered a plea deal, pleading no contest to 1 count of vandalism and another of witness intimidation. He was sentenced to 36 months of probation and ordered to attend domestic violence classes. Amber Portwood made her reality debut in the first season of MTV's 16 and Pregnant, but Portwood is also a convicted felon. That's because of an unfortunate 2010 incident that was captured on camera and aired on MTV, in which she physically attacked then-boyfriend Gary Shirley. Authorities investigated, which led to Portwood's arrest. While that arrest only led to probation, the next one landed her in the clink. She was nabbed in 2012 for possessing an array of prescription pills that hadn't been prescribed to her during a routine probation search. After spending a month in jail, she cut a plea deal and went to rehab. But when she ditched rehab and then failed a drug test, her original 5-year sentence was reimposed, and she was sent back to the slammer. She was released early in November 2013 after serving 17 months.
But all of a sudden, I'm running after my kid and him with a machete? You're insane.
In 2019, she was arrested again, once more for domestic battery, after allegedly threatening her then-boyfriend Andrew Glennon with a machete. She entered a guilty plea on charges of domestic battery and intimidation, and was sentenced to 906 days of probation. If that probation was violated, the judge warned her she would be sent back to prison for 5 more years.